For decades, the tech world has been completely obsessed with one thing, one mythical creature, the unicorn. Well, according to one Silicon Valley insider, that's all over. The unicorn is dead. So today, we're going to dive into his argument for why we need a totally new way of thinking about building businesses that actually last.
So, our guide for this whole thing is a guy named Saji Madapat, a self-described, get this, recovering corporate arsonist. I mean, after 30 years as a top systems architect, he's basically pulling back the curtain on a system that he helped build, a system that he now says is just fundamentally broken.
So yeah, what we're about to get into is his big argument for why the future doesn't belong to that fast-burning, flashy unicorn. Nope. He says it belongs to a creature that's way more resilient and, let's be honest, a lot less glamorous. The camel.
Okay, so before we can really get the camel, we've got to understand the world it's pushing back against. Madapat has a great name for it, the unicorn hallucination. He basically says it's a culture, a faith even, that's built on pure fantasy.
He actually calls this whole thing the Church of the Unicorn, and its core belief is just wild. The idea is that losing insane amounts of money isn't a warning sign. It's actually seen as proof of your ambition. It's a world where making a profit is almost a bad thing. Like, it means you're not dreaming big enough.
And yeah, he really doesn't pull any punches when he talks about the business model this creates. He says the playbook is simple. Raise a ton of money, burn through it, raise even more money, and just pray someone buys you out before the whole thing comes crashing down.
And, well, reality is pretty brutal. This chart, it shows a number we've all heard, but maybe don't really think about. 90% of startups fail. It's just a fact. But somehow that's become the accepted cost of doing business in the Church of the Unicorn.
See that number on your screen? $7 trillion. That's the make-believe value of over 800 zombie unicorns. These are companies that are basically dead, but they're kept on the books at these insane valuations. It's a giant economic bubble just floating on pure belief.
And look, this isn't some old problem. Just look at the AI boom happening right now. The source points out that a staggering 95% of enterprise AI pilots, they don't even make it to production. So what does Madapat say? He says this isn't just growing pains. It's a collective hallucination with better PR.
So why does this model fail over and over again? The source actually breaks it down into 4 really predictable patterns, and he calls them the sacraments of this self-destructive religion. Let's get into them. Okay, here they are, the 4 death spirals: extraction, efficiency, vanity metrics, and speed. Each one of these is like a core belief in the unicorn faith, and according to Madapat, each one is a guaranteed way to engineer your own company's demise.
All right, let's just take the first one, the extraction death spiral. The idea here is simple, and honestly, pretty brutal. It's when you start taking value from your customers just so you can show growth to your investors. You hike up prices, you get rid of features, you're basically eating your own user base alive just to make the charts go up and to the right. Until, poof, there's nothing left.
Think about it. Unicorns are like thoroughbred racehorses. They need everything to be perfect. Cheap money, easy markets, constant attention. But the real world, it's a desert. And the desert doesn't care about your flashy demo day. So that leads us to the big question.
And the answer? Well, of course, it's the camel. This is the whole other way of thinking. A model built not for some fantasy land in Silicon Valley, but for actually surviving in the real and, yeah, often pretty harsh world.
This table, right here, it just lays out the difference perfectly. A unicorn just eats cash, right? A camel stores up reserves. The unicorn is all about getting applause on demo day. The camel, it's built to survive into its second decade. And for a unicorn, success is all about that billion-dollar valuation, but for a camel, success is solving a real problem and just staying alive.
And that, right there, is the core idea. It's all about substance over show, reality over hype. The camel doesn't care about looking impressive in a pitch deck. It cares about the actual mechanics of how to survive.
Okay, so how do you actually build one of these things? Madapat lays out 5 principles, and he calls them heresies because, well, they go against everything the Church of the Unicorn preaches.
Think of these 5 heresies as the camel's operating system. Every single one is a practical and totally counterintuitive piece of advice for building a business that lasts, not one that just explodes and disappears. Let's check out a couple.
All right, first up, the grandmother test. The idea is so simple. If you can't explain the problem you're solving to your grandmother, it's probably not a real problem. The businesses that last, they solve real, basic human needs, not these made-up problems that take a 20-minute presentation to explain.
Okay, another huge heresy is about who you hire. Hire farmers, not hunters. The source says that our whole business culture worships the hunter. Aggressive, short-term, always chasing that next quarterly goal. But the farmer, they think in generations. They cultivate, they enrich the soil. They're playing a much, much longer game.
This next quote, man, it just perfectly sums up the fourth heresy, which is build cathedrals, not casinos. Venture capital, it demands miracles, right? And it demands them on a 5-year timeline. But real value, the kind that lasts, it isn't built on miracles. It's built on solid, steady mechanics that compound over time. It's like laying the foundation for a cathedral that you might not even live to see finished.
So this all really comes down to one incredibly powerful question. Just forget about the 5-year exit plan for a second. Ask yourself this: if I had to build something that would last for 50 years, what would I do differently tomorrow morning? I mean, that one question just changes everything, doesn't it? And you know what? That question has never been more important. Because as the source argues, the world that created the unicorn, it's gone. The easy money, it's gone. The whole theater of easy growth is closing down. The desert is here.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty direct question. The unicorns are out there dying of thirst. But the camel, slow, steady, resilient, it just keeps on walking. So the question isn't just for founders or CEOs, it's for all of us really. Which one are you building?